We ask one question, one follow-up, and that's about everything. So if we're all set, Ross, please go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Recording in progress.
Nina. And thank you everyone for joining us. Firstly, want to recognize Councillor Paul Christian, who's with us today as our acting mayor on this announcement we're making, and Councillor Sandra Hollingsworth. Good to see you again, and as well CAO Malcolm White. Good to see you as well, Malcolm, and everyone else here from our local media. Thanks for joining us. We have a good news, little story for you here this morning that I'm really happy to talk about, especially at this time of year. I want to start off, though, by recognizing the lands that we're all gathered on are the lands of the Robinson-Huron Treaty Territory, the Anishinaabe people of our area, Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, Missinaba First Nation, all of our Métis friends, and of course our urban Indigenous friends as well. And I do believe it's important that we recognize that we make these acknowledgements to recognize that we were not here first, and it's a privilege for us to be able to enjoy these lands. The announcement we're here to talk about today that I'm pretty excited about, and as I mentioned earlier, is one that is really timing-wise just so appropriate. Obviously, we always see in the springtime in Sault Ste. Marie a real challenge when it comes to our roads, and our road infrastructure is always in need of repair, especially at this time of year. This year in particular is one of the most challenging, I think, I've seen, and I think many out there are saying is one of the worst years we've had for our roads. And having infrastructure funding for our roads is obviously very critical. If you remember back, and I know Councillor Christian and Councillor Hollingsworth, we were sitting together as city councillors and CAO White in a different capacity. And I recall from about 2014, 15, and 16, constant advocacy under the Connecting Links Fund to the previous government. And unfortunately, we were never able to secure that funding for the expansion of Black Road. And shortly after getting into government, I was very proud that we were able to secure the maximum $3 million for Black Road expansion. The very following year, again, the maximum $3 million under the Connecting Links Fund to be able to get a major part of the resurfacing done of Trunk Road. And there's still that one stretch that I hear about and people talk about a lot, which is that last stretch of Trunk Road just before Black Road that is in need of repair. And I had been visited by Minister Caroline Mulroney, who I certainly want to recognize, several weeks ago. And at that time, I made a point when we left the airport together of driving her through just about every pothole I could find. And then I had a good conversation with now about to retire Don Elliott, of course, from the city of Sault Ste. Marie, who's always a pleasure to have been able to work with, and spoke with him directly about what's going on with our applications for funding under Connecting Links. And he was able to give me some information about that, and saw that we had a $2.2 million application to be able to complete that road resurfacing project. And really proud to be able to say that with our continued advocacy, we were able to secure the full amount of that funding again. So very, very happy to report here today that we have $2.2 million in Connecting Links funding in the last 3 years. That is a total of $8.2 million that we've seen in Connecting Links funding. And obviously, we want to be able to utilize as much as we can for all of our roads, but this is about our provincial Connecting Links. So obviously the stretch that runs through Highway 17 as that runs through our city, and our province is ensuring that we're making good on a promise to complete infrastructure projects, road projects, and get it done. Make sure we get shovels in the ground right away so that we can ensure people can get to their places that they need to get to, whether it be work or soccer practice or hockey practice, and be able to do so very safely. And clearly, it's very important that we have good road infrastructure, and something I'm very happy that we were able to deliver on. So I want to now turn it over to our acting mayor for today, Councillor Paul Christian, who I know has been a long-time advocate of getting a lot of this type of funding. And we've had lots of fun conversations in the past, you and I. So over to you, Councillor Christian.
Well, thank you very much, MPP Romano. I want to welcome everyone here for this exciting announcement today. I appreciate being part of this. I'm very happy to be participating today representing the people of Sault Ste. Marie and Mayor Christian Provenzano, who sends his greetings. He was hoping to be here today, but unfortunately he could not attend. I too want to recognize Councillor Sandra Hollingsworth, my Ward 1 mate, which Trunk Road resides in, so I'm happy that she's here. On behalf of the Mayor and City Council, I want to thank the Ontario government and MPP Romano for this fantastic funding announcement. It's very, very exciting. You know, Sault Ste. Marie, like a lot of communities, MPP Romano pointed this out, it's a struggle to keep our roadway infrastructure intact, especially in the north, given the harsh winters that we deal with. So it is a challenge, and I think we all recognize that. Highway 17, the Trans-Canada Highway, dissects the northern and eastern portions of our city, and I'm extremely happy that the province continues to recognize the importance of this roadway within our city boundaries. Of course, Trunk Road, as Ross pointed out, is part of the eastern connecting link in Sault Ste. Marie. Today's announcement of multi-million dollars of connecting links funding for Trunk Road is very exciting indeed and greatly appreciated by the city. I want to make that point. These funds will provide much needed repair for this extremely busy and important thoroughfare, which is shared not only with local traffic, but with trans-provincial traffic as well. You know I speak on behalf of Councillor Hollingsworth on a personal thank you that this money is being spent on Trunk Road, because as I pointed out, it's part of Ward 1, which we both represent. So it's that fewer calls that we're going to get in time. In closing, I just want to reiterate the gratitude that the city shares with this announcement of this very important news. I'm looking forward to the millions of dollars being spent on Connecting Links funding, being put to work for the citizens of Sault Ste. Marie, and providing safer and more enjoyable travel in this area of the community. So thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you, Councillor Christian. And Councillor Hollingsworth, if you want to say a few words while you're here, certainly, there you go. You're up.
Thank you. Acting Mayor, Councillor Paul Christian, I believe summarized it very well. His thoughts are exactly my thoughts, but I also want to emphasize a thank you to you, MPP Ross Romano, and to your team for making this happen, working closely with our staff and working closely with your own team. And we will continue to work with our constituents and the community to really understand other needs that they feel are important. And of course, roads are number one for safety reasons. So I cannot tell you and emphasize enough how much we appreciate this. Thank you. And also thank you to our city staff, Mr. White, Don Elliott, as acting mayor stated, and his team. It's all, everyone has been working very hard to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hollingsworth. And with that, I think we are concluding our this portion of our announcement. And I see that we have some questions, so or at least one. So Christina, I'll turn it back to you for that portion.
All right, please feel free to post that question in the chat or unmute. I see Elaine, you have a question, so go ahead, please.
Sorry, it took me a bit to unmute there. Good morning, everybody. Ross, my question is for you, first of all. With the rising costs and the inflationary issues that we're experiencing now, and supply chain issues, etc., is it time to review the maximum allowable under this program, the $3 million? I mean, obviously $3 million doesn't go as far as perhaps it did 5 or 10 years ago. Is it time to review that maximum under this program? What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you for that question, Elaine. And, you know, as you're well aware, the entire fund is $30 million. The fund is allowable, the maximum allowable for any one community is $3 million. I think based on just the nature of exactly your question and the rising costs, I think when we're looking at inflation, it's important that we always look at ways to keep up with that. And so to that extent, I think that is important. Looking at this fund locally and how it's been utilized, and I'm sure some on the line here, in fact, CAO White, I recall having some conversations with in the past about this. If you recall, the first $3 million for the Black Road expansion project, which is obviously already completed, my understanding was that was clearly enough money to be able to address that. The second year, the funding that was provided of $3 million actually allowed for more of the trunk road resurfacing to be done than what was initially expected. So that money actually stretched even further. On this particular year, the maximum, again, would have been $3 million, and the application was for this $2.26 million, $2,261,059 to be exact. So I have to rely on that was what the level of need was. But I think certainly moving forward in the future, it might be wise to look at ways of increasing some of the maximum allowable limits, and looking at ways to ensure that we can get more of these projects done.
Just as a follow-up and perhaps switching gears slightly, earlier this spring, City Council passed a resolution urging the province to look at or examine some four-laning from Highway 17 north due to weather-related issues, safety, travel, and just closures, period. Is this something the government is entertaining?
With respect to that north portion of the highway, and I would say also the eastern portion of the highway moving towards Sudbury, I think those are all conversations are open. In fact, Minister Rickford had made that comment with Premier Ford last week when we were at Algoma Steel, or 2 weeks ago, my apologies, at Algoma Steel, announcing a pretty impressive announcement that day that these types of road infrastructure projects are all on the table right now. And of course, as you'll recall from the conversation you and I had at a recent long-term care groundbreaking announcement, that I think is very important that we recognize the importance of groups like Phenom, and that we get our advocacy through groups like Phenom. Obviously, there's so many smaller communities through it all of the province, whether it be in rural Ontario or northern Ontario. And in terms of those smaller communities out there, as defined under 100,000 people, it's important that we really push that advocacy through those types of tables, and clearly through local representation as well. And as I said, something that is very, very important is that we do all we can to improve road infrastructure. Building roads is something that's very critical. It's getting people and goods to places, and that is how we move our economy forward. And I think we've been seeing some really strong investments in community infrastructure and in provincial and regional infrastructure to ensure that we can do that better, faster, and more, and in a way that is going to allow us to see greater economic development as a result.
Thank you.
No problem,
Elaine. Are there any other questions? It would seem not. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to see you all again. Have a great day and a great weekend. Hopefully it's sunnier weekend.
Yeah.
At least today.
Yes. All the best.
Yeah.